40 Republican lawmakers are calling on Biden to take a cognitive test, just like his predecessor, Donald Trump, took. Donald Trump aced the test. My guess is Biden will never take that test because everybody knows the results will not be any good. Here with more, the author of Holding the Line, Congressman and former White House Dr. Ronny Jackson, and Fox News contributor Miranda Devine. Dr. Jackson, we've talked about this before. Now, when I pointed his cognitive issues out during the campaign, there were very few people that were willing to go there with me, and I was kind of hanging out on a limb, as is often my position in life, doing my job. I see in the year that he's been president an even more dramatic decline. Now, if I'm right in reading the science, this is something, if somebody is in a cognitive decline, it usually never gets better, but it does get worse. Do you see a change in the 1 year since he's been in office in terms of his cognitive abilities?
Well, absolutely, Sean. I definitely see a change, and I'm not the only one. You can look at the polls. There's been a 19-point drop in people who think he's cognitively fit to be our president now. Over 50% of the population thinks that he's not. And, this is a serious issue, Sean. I took care of 3 presidents. I took care of Bush and Obama and Trump. I was in the White House for 14 years as the White House physician. I know this is a serious accusation at this particular point, but like you, I've been saying it since he was candidate, Joe Biden, and he is the leader of the free world. He has to be able to, this job cognitively and mentally and physically is very demanding. And he's proven to us every single day that he's not up for the job, Sean. This is on full display for the whole world right now. And we need to address this issue before something bad happens. So I think that this is something that we need to talk about, something that needs to be addressed by the White House, by his medical team. And we need to do something about what's going on. It's not going well for us.
And that cognitive test, my understanding, and you've described it to me before, is not easy. It's extraordinarily hard. There are 30 questions, if I remember correctly, and Donald Trump got all of them right?
That's right. Absolutely. You got to get a 26 on it to be considered normal. I don't think Joe Biden could get anywhere close to that. I mean, not even anywhere close to that at this particular point. And that's what concerns me about this right now. So they need to do something to address this issue because he's inspiring confidence in our adversaries. He's not inspiring any confidence in our allies. He's destroying this country right now domestically and internationally. And something bad is going to happen if he stays in office for another 3 years. This man is not mentally fit, not cognitively fit to be our commander-in-chief and our head of state. We need to do something about it. We need to do something about it before something bad happens.
Miranda, there's no way that every single person that is around him, there's no way they don't know. And to me, it's obvious they're covering for him, which is why we rarely see him. And in the lead up to any big event, he needs days of practice. I used to joke about it. I used to talk about Sippy Cup Joe and Warm Milky Joe. I'm not joking about it now. My question to you is this country headed towards a crisis where there's a possibility that we may need to invoke that 25th Amendment that the liberal media talked about so often as it related to Donald Trump?
Hi, Sean. Look, it's obvious to everybody that Joe Biden has got cognitive problems. And it's obvious most obviously to his wife, Jill Biden. So that's the question. Why did she allow him to run? And why does she continue to put him in this position? But I do think there's also a problem with continually harping on this issue because the Democrats are not going to allow him to do a cognitive test just because Republicans are urging them to. They're not going to do it until they're ready to get rid of him. Now, that may come sooner rather than later, but at the moment, he's convenient. While he's useful to them, they will keep him. The other problem is I think that by just attributing all his incompetence, all the disasters in his first year simply to his cognitive unfitness is not correct, and it's really not fair to the American people. He knows what he's been doing. He knows that he signed all those executive orders to open the southern border and so on day one. He is not completely gaga yet. And Yes, you can. Yes. And I know that people who have sat in meetings with him say that he can follow an agenda, ticks off, controls meetings, and that his staff, people like Anthony Blinken, defer to him. And I think the Republicans need to have a strategy. So they're calling for this cognitive test. What if he does sit it, and what if he fails? Then we have Kamala Harris. Is that going to be better or worse for the country?
I can't really answer that question. Miranda, it's a brilliant question, which is why you're such a brilliant writer. Here's a question. I just showed the Republican Party. They put out Joe Biden after that disastrous press conference of his. Question. If somebody showed you a tape of somebody that was going to drive your children, and you saw that a similar tape of that person, would you feel comfortable allowing that person to drive your children, I don't know, to some event maybe an hour away? Ronnie?
No, absolutely not, Sean. And I agree with some of what was just said. I don't agree with everything was what said. I think that he doesn't know what's going on because, to be honest with you, I don't think that he's engaged for the vast majority of the day. I think they roll him out for specific things. They have him read a teleprompter. They cue him up just enough. But I don't think he's in. I don't think he's in the loop on what's going on in this country day to day.
And I don't think let's go, Brandon. He didn't know that his own administration was offering $450,000 payouts for families separated at the border, and then he embraced it, which I don't know which is worse. But I'm running out of time. Miranda, real quick, on the car question, we have about 20 seconds. If you saw that tape and somebody was going to come over and that was the person that was going to drive your kids to an hour in one direction, an hour home, would you feel comfortable?
Of course not. I mean, if that was your grandfather, you would take away his license. And, you know, Dr. Jackson is completely right. It's really worrying that someone like that is in the Oval Office. But still, what is the next game? I actually personally think having Kamala Harris in this chair would be better for Republicans because at the moment there's still a third of the country that believes that Joe Biden is, you know, honest and decent and honourable and modest and humble and a guy who is a moderate who wants to bring the country together when the opposite is the truth. And it's not just the cognitive problems.
All right. This will be interesting.